Thank you.
Hi, candidates. Or applicants, actually, they're not candidates. I'm Barbara Becker. I'm going to be your moderator tonight. And I want y'all to keep yourselves muted until it's your turn to speak. And always remember to push the unmute button when you're about to speak. But this allows us not to get a feedback during that everyone else's talk. So we really appreciate that if you would do that. And smile because they'll be able to see you. And we wish you good luck and have a good forum. Okay. When it's not your turn, you need to mute yourselves. And if you don't mute yourselves, then we'll have to mute you. And then it gets a little more tricky. So please remember when you're through speaking to mute yourself. Thank you.
And just a heads up, we'll be starting in about 90 seconds. So 90-second countdown. So candidates will be controlling time. You'll see the timekeeper co-host. So you want to make sure, can you all see the stop sign? You might want to change your view to your layout view to grid. That way you'll be able to see the timekeeper. Oh, or stack or grid?
Stack.
Oh, I'm on grid. I see. Yeah, stack or grid. But you want to be able to see the timekeeper. Right now, can you see she's holding up the 30-second sign? Please give me a thumbs up if you can all see that.
There's one.
Okay, so you want to, up in the corner above everyone's head, there's a button that says layout. Click on that button and change yours to either stack or grid view. And then you should be able to see the timekeeper. The timekeeper is going to hold up the 30-second sign now. Give me a thumbs up if you can all see the 30-second timer.
Yep.
I think
They're all doing
Oh,
thumbs
No.
April still can't see it.
Okay. So Brian, Sylvia, and Joe, right? You'll see a button that says layout in WebEx. It should be right next to up at the about the top of the screen, about a third of the way to the right. And if you click on that button that says layout, you'll have choices. You'll have grid, stack, side by side. Please pick grid or stack, and then you should see a stop sign. If you're able to see the stop sign, nope.
I'm on grid and I still can't see it.
Do you see somebody named Timekeeper co-host as one of the people?
I see Nico as host.
Right, there should be a co-host. Try stack. Oh, no, no, you want to have grid, I think. Grid should show you everyone who's a participant.
I do not see the stop sign. I see Nico as the host. Oh, I see. I can't get everybody on the same, because I've got an
So her screen
iPad.
size might be small.
Yeah, your screen size might be small, but you click down when you're speaking. That's how the timekeeper is going to let you know.
Click what? I'm sorry.
So however you got to see the timekeeper this time, do that again when you're actually speaking to make sure you can see the timekeeper.
Oh, good idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Will do.
I don't see a timekeeper at all. Where is that?
So Joe, if you click on layout and you click grid, you should be able to see all, let's see.
I clicked on grid.
Yeah. And you should be able to see all 13 participants.
No, I only see 4.
Well,
You'll see some carrots either to the left or to the right of the 4 images, and you can scroll one way or the other.
Barbara can hold it up.
yeah, hold up your stop sign. Barbara.
She said I'm Barbara.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
You got it.
Oh, you
Yeah.
want us to scroll then.
Just told him.
Okay, was everyone able to navigate over so they can see the timekeeper? We are 30 seconds from starting. Okay, everybody please mute yourself.
Welcome to the Pima County Board of Supervisors District 3 Applicants Forum. I'm Barbara Becker, your moderator for this evening's event. I do not live in District 3, so I'm here as a neutral party. Assisting me this evening from the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson is our timekeeper, Sue DeArmond, and our question sorter, Joshua Polachek. We respectfully acknowledge that the League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson is on the land and territories of Indigenous peoples. Today, Arizona is home to 22 federally recognized tribes, with Tucson being the home to the Tohono O'odham and the Pasquayaqui people. For those of you who haven't used WebEx before, you can adjust how the forum displays using the layout button at the top of the viewer. There are several options. Pick the one that you prefer best. To ask questions, there is a Q&A button on the bottom right. You can type your question to the applicants there, and we will compile them to ask the panel members if time allows. You will be able to see your own question, but not those submitted by other members of the public. If you are joining us by phone, unfortunately, you will only be able to listen to the forum. You will not be able to submit questions. But we thank you all for joining us in tonight's forum. There are 8 applicants. Due to time constraints, we will be limited on the number of questions that get formally asked. I apologize up front that we are unable to get the question. I need to explain a few things about our process. The applicants have agreed to abide by our rules, and we ask the same of the audience. First, do not record or do video of any or all of this forum. Second, you'll notice Ms. DeArmond is raising signs. The signs are being held up to tell the speaker how much time they have left to speak. Should the candidate continue after the stop sign has been raised, I will advise the speaker and interrupt. We want to ensure that everyone has an equal opportunity to answer each question without interruption. Third, each applicant will have 1.5 minutes to introduce themselves and their platform and 1.5 minutes to respond to each question. We will rotate who goes first with each question. Now, let us begin the forum by each applicant telling us about themselves and why they're running for office. We will start with Brian Johnson.
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah, my name is Brian Johnson, and I'm a 25-year resident of District 3. I have a home out in Picture Rocks, which is a semi-rural area of District 3 in Pima County. I had a 14-year career with Pima County, 5 years in finance and risk management, and then also 9 years at the assessor's office. I am not going to run for this office for a full term. I just want to let everybody know that because I'm also a candidate right now for county treasurer. So I would only take this as an interim position. So a little bit about myself. When I was working with Pima County, I think my knowledge, I have a broader knowledge of what the Board of Supervisors does from my work with SEIU, the Service Employees International Union that represented the employees. And during the course of that time, I was on the leadership committee, and I took the task of actually monitoring the Board of Supervisors meetings. And over the years, I attended many, many meetings. I got a good grasp of what the supervisors do. And also, I had built relationships back then with the supervisors.
Thank you.
You're currently serving. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Kristen Randall.
Good evening. I'd like to say I'm really honored to share the virtual stage with 7 of these wonderful community leaders here. Special thank you to the League of Women Voters, to the Board of Supervisors, their staff, and to the clerk of the board. 23 years ago, I was living in a tent. My address was a vacant wooded lot. So if it wasn't for good government, for access to opportunity, and to some big hearts along the way, I wouldn't be here today. District 3 is incredibly diverse. I've served in the urban portions as a constable, trying to bring resources to tenants and to property managers. I owned the newspaper in Arivaca. I've worked for the National Wildlife Refuge, for the Geological Survey, and then also for the Pima County Justice Court System currently. District 3 is my home. It's not merely where I rest my head at night, but it's my community, and I work hard to make it more vibrant and just. I'm a perpetual optimist. I think we can solve problems together. And all I ask is, I want to be your servant, your conduit to county resources, and I'm asking for the chance to represent you. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Machado.
Good evening, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for having us. My name is Joe Machado. I was born and raised here in Pima County. I lived at the base of a mountain. I have a bachelor's degree of science, a bachelor's of science in business administration from the U of A, and also a law degree. I live in the Silver Bell, Ina area. We built our home there in approximately 1995, and I've resided there since that time. My family and I have always been involved in community activities, be it support of candidates, campaigns, Little League, food and clothing, blanket drives for the homeless. We've been involved in one way or the other. In my career, I've acquired a varied background. I've practiced law in the both public and public sector. I've appeared in courts at all levels. I'm a former elected county attorney. I am a former city attorney and current city attorney. I have served as a judge pro tem in Pima County. I have worked closely with elected officials at all levels. Prepared and presented legislation. I've seen how decisions are made. And I submit to you that because of this background, if appointed, I can hit the ground running. I can participate immediately. I believe this to be especially important given the fact that the person
Thank you, Joe. We appreciate it.
Here.
Thank you. April Ignacio.
Skikdash, Anya Abjigit, April Ignacio, Kamshkuruawasik Chiksels Amjad in Legislative District 23. I am Thanatham. I reside in rural Pima County on the Thanatham Nation. This is where I was born and raised and where I raised my 6 children. District 3 is diverse and we expand outside the Tucson city limits as far south to Arivaca West, including Picture Rocks, 3 Points area, encompassing almost all of the Thanatham Nation to Ajo. It is truly humbling and exciting to have this opportunity. I have been a precinct committee person since 2017, and I currently am one of the vice chairs for the Arizona Democratic Party. I have been appointed to the Arizona Task Force for Missing and Murdered Indigenous People and the Arizona Commission on Appellate Court Appointments by Governor Katie Hobbs. I have been civically organizing in my community since 2017, and what a great opportunity it is to seek this appointment to champion for the people in District 3. I'm a blue-collar worker. I work for Tribal Housing Authority on the Thanatim Nation as a warehouse and fleet manager. My friends and I co-founded Indivisible Thano. We are a grassroots community-based organization that focuses on state and federal legislation. Our philosophy is voting is the least you can do to be civically engaged. We provide opportunities for education through Indivisible Thano, and when I'm not nerding out to local politics, I facilitate an online book club called the Res Babes Book Club. Make and discuss, admire art. Again, I'm April Ignacio. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew Kopak.
Hello, good evening. My name is Matt Kopek, and I just want to say thank you to the league for hosting us, and thank you to everybody else who threw their name into the hat for this appointment. It's a very impressive group of people, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So again, my name is Matt Kopek. I live in sort of the Ward 3 part of District 3. My background is in 2016. I was appointed by the Board of Supervisors, although completely different people then. To the State House of Representatives, where I served for a year. I currently serve on the board of Amphitheater Public Schools. In November of last year, I was reelected to that position. And then for about 7 years, I served in the Ward 3 Council office for 3 different council members and was a part of 3 different transitions. And then I currently work at the Pima County Health Department, where I get to interact with about 400 or so county employees on an almost constant basis. The reason I wanted to throw my hat into the ring for the appointment is because I think I can help. My previous experience, both with the legislative appointment and then going through a transition of an elected official at the Ward 3 office in 2021, I think gives me some pretty unique perspective on this current appointment process. So thank you to everybody. I look forward to all of the questions and answers tonight.
Thank you. Jennifer Allen.
Good evening, and thank you, League of Women Voters, for bringing us all together this evening. My name is Jennifer Allen, and my history starts in Pima County back in kind of around the 1990s, when my parents and my brother and I visited southern Arizona and fell in love with the Sonoran Desert, with the rich history and the confluence of cultures that dominate this region. Since then, 4 generations of my family have called this area home, from my 11-year-old son to his bisabuela, to his great-grandmother, and other family members who have also joined us here. And that's part of my interest in being on the Board of Supervisors and being the appointee, is to ensure that future generations can be proud of the place that we call home. For the last 25 plus years, I have served in senior and executive leadership roles in nonprofit organizations. So most recently, I was the executive director of the ACLU of Arizona, where I worked on reproductive rights, criminal justice, and other issues. I worked for the senior vice president of the National League of Conservation Voters. I was the executive director of the Border Action Network, Pro Neighborhoods, and I also worked for an indigenous land rights organization. I would be honored to share sort of these skills and experiences, and I would be ready to go on day 1 as the supervisor. Both from the issues that are facing District 3, I have a breadth of experience from the relationships from Sahuarita to Lukeville, Pitcher Rocks, Amphi, and on. Thank you.
Thank you. Edgar Soto.
Thank you, League of Women Voters. I want to start off by telling you why I think a recent experience have really motivated me to do this. A good family friend of mine recently passed away. I was honored to ask to eulogize his life. His name was Rudy Gallego. Many of you might know him because he was an extensive volunteer work at deep roots in Tucson's west side. Rudy was 74 years old and a United States Marine Corps veteran. He lost his legs and 3 fingers in 1970 when he stepped on a landmine. The great honor of telling a story required me to be reflective not only on the impact of Rudy's life, but also on my own and what my legacy will be. Rudy's story was about service. Rudy was a United States Marine, a successful baseball coach, and a champion wheelchair athlete. But his service to others is what mattered most to him and what made him proud. At Rudy's service, if someone came up to me afterwards or during his eulogy and talked about my dad had impacted Rudy's life in a way I didn't even know. My dad had advocated for Rudy when he wanted to become a coach at Western Little League. And the board at Western Little League at the beginning denied him. My dad advocated for Rudy along with another parent. Rudy went along to coach a team and did really well. So my whole legacy has to do with service to others, speaking to those who can't speak for themselves, whether it be a veteran, someone with a disability, or some of those underserved that don't get noticed. So my whole reason for doing this is because of service.
Thank you, Edgar. Thank you. Sylvia Lee.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Sylvia Lee, and my history in Tucson began when I was born in 1958. But actually, my history, my family's history began turn of the century. My great-grandmother was chronicled in a journal of Arizona's history as one of the first Chinese women to come across from China, San Francisco, Mexico, into Arizona and settled in Tucson. So got a very proud legacy. Just briefly, why do I want to run? I was on the Pima College board for 6 years, and I did so because I had, as I call it, the fire in my belly, because I wanted to serve. When I saw this opportunity come up, I felt the same way. Being a Pima College board member, I do feel that I do have the experience in serving for District 3 specifically. So the same district as that we're all vying for is what I served for 6 years as a Pima College board member. And we all know how unique this district is with the border, the 2 national parks, the Tohono Nation's capital, and Marana, and parts of Central and West Tucson. My experience is I have 30 years in higher education. Specifically, last job was president of Pima Community College's Board of Governors, Northwest Campus and Community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Before I read off some questions given to us by the Board of Supervisors, I want to remind the audience that we're looking for you to also ask questions of these applicants. So the first question is, what motivated you to seek this position, and do you intend to compete in the 2024 election for a 4-year term for District 3? Let's begin with Kristen Randall.
Hey, thank you. So I currently work for Pima County. I've worked for Pima County for 5 years. I love to serve. I love the county. I love working for the county, and I love District 3. So I think that I'm uniquely situated to address some of the upcoming challenges that we're seeing, and opportunities as well. As some might know, the Prosperity Initiative was just passed last week. This is a really big deal for the county. I'm really excited about it. And the 3-legged stool of the Prosperity Initiative is crime reduction and prevention, climate resilience and environmental justice, and kind of a whole family approach to addressing poverty. In my various pieces of my career, I've touched on all of those. I've worked in conservation. I am an environmental scientist. That's my bachelor's degree. I've worked for the federal government doing that. In the constable's office, we touched these poverty issues every day, and I made it a big part of my job. And then lately with the courts, access to justice has been a really big part of my job, and increasing that access to justice. So I do think I have a lot of real world experience, hands-on experience to offer, especially for the upcoming opportunities that we're going to be seeing in the next few years. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Joe Machado.
I'd like to start off by just saying that I'm not interested in running for the re-election and for this term. at a stage in my career that's just simply not for me. I'm interested in finishing the term, doing the best I can. I believe that I've acquired a breadth of experience, a wide range of experience in my professional career. This will allow me to hit the ground running, to apply that expertise, that experience, and into areas that I think are more needed in our district. I think our district has the same challenges that the rest of the county does, but just hugely amplified because of this rural nature. We've got homelessness, we have affordable housing, with a lack of daycare, preschools, and just the overall economic development. I'd like to address those issues. Those would be my pet issues, especially the lack of affordable housing. I think there's so much that we can do. We're crippling a whole generation because of our high prices, high interest rates, insufficient wages. We need to institute county programs, whatever they may be, to facilitate, speed up this process on the county level, fund loans, subsidies, whatever it takes to get this, to address the housing issue, housing shortage, and the homelessness issue. Those would be my
Thank you, Joe.
the areas of concern most.
Thank you. April Ignacio.
Could you repeat your question, please?
Certainly. What motivated you to seek this position, and do you intend to compete in the 2024 election for a 4-year District 3 term?
I actually do plan on running for the position. I think one of the things that we talk about within Pima County is the concern for lack of representation. So the benefits of selecting me as the as appointed to this is, day one, I come in with institutional knowledge that takes years to build. I have an established relationship with the Donauta Nation because I live here. This is where I raised my family, and also the other tribe in Pima County, which is the Pascoyaki tribe. I feel it's more of a sense of duty. I can't expect or encourage people in my community to do what I'm asking them to do if I don't do it myself. So this is like, I'm someone who goes through a checkpoint every single day. I know what the concerns are in rural Pima County District 3. So I am excited about being considered for this appointment. And I'm just more really excited about being included in more of the conversation and how we are impacted here on the Donauta Nation and rural Pima County. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to remind everyone to put their speakers on mute when they're not speaking. Matt Kopech, please.
Thank you. So my interest in seeking the appointment is really born out of kind of the uniqueness of the situation. I know what it felt like working for a local elected official that resigned for health reasons, and then not knowing what was going to happen next in terms of what my own career or ability to have a job be in the next few weeks. I saw firsthand what it's like for senior county leadership to have to onboard and bring somebody up to speed. The government doesn't stop just because one person left. So the issues keep on coming. There's quite a few of them have already been discussed. So I kind of understand the nuance of what I'd be walking into. The same thing happened to me when I was at the State House. So because of the uniqueness of this situation is what drew me to seek the appointment, because fundamentally I just think I can be helpful. And then for the second part of the question, I do not intend to run. The reason is purely my own. I don't think that there's a right or wrong way to answer this question. Just because when I was appointed about a year or so before an election, it's a for me, I found it's quite a bit to learn the job, do the job, and then run for the job all at the same time. So that's the reason for my answer there. So thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Allen.
So I am seeking both the appointment and running for the November 2024 election. I'm doing that for a number of reasons. I think one, and some of them you've heard from others, one is around representation. District 3 is in, it's a large, but it's an incredibly diverse district. 50% of District 3 are people of color and Indigenous people. 65% of the district lives in incorporated areas in cities. The other 35% are out in more rural areas. My experience is around centering equity and bringing folks together. So in centering equity from an organizational perspective, from a policy perspective, I am bilingual, I'm a Latina. My career has been about figuring out ways to bring folks out from the shadows into the light, to be able to stand up and assert some leadership around the issues and policies that affect their lives. I think my experience around issues relate to the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan, the Prosperity Initiative, and the developing climate plan that the county is thinking about. All of those are areas that I have expertise in, but perhaps those relationships and the issues all really come together around my skill and my love, really, for bringing people together to solve complex problems that can result in meaningful policy change. That is kind of what I've done for the last 25 years and would hope to bring to the role of the county supervisor.
Thank you. Edgar Soto, please.
So the last few years, I've been involved in helping get a bill started, helping get a bill passed, Senate Bill 1710, and now it's a statute, and it's a bill that is an authority with this. It's called the Southern Arizona Sports Tourism Film Authority, and it incorporates 6 counties and 3 tribal nations. And this experience has really made me realize how important it is that we get these things done at a policy level. Right now, I think we've got some great momentum with the county going. We've got some really exciting initiatives and a really exciting opportunities. And I want to keep that momentum going. This experience has really kind of helped me understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to create pathways to prosperity. What we're really trying to do here is we're trying to create economic impact so people can get good jobs and live lives of meaning and purpose. And I think my experience as a vice president at Pima Community College, that's what I do. I help create pathways to prosperity. The one thing at Pima that I can tell you is that I think we have more leverage than any other institution here in Tucson, because we take everybody. It doesn't matter. They don't have to assess into Pima Community College. We accept everybody. The last thing I want to mention, because I know I just have a few seconds here left, but I don't plan on running in November of 2024. But I'll say this: if some things are happening and I'm in it, and the rest of the board members thinks we've got some momentum and I'm working well with them as a team, I would think about it. So thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Lee.
Thank you. Well, first of all, let me say that why am I running? Well, first of all, I said earlier that you have to have that fire in your belly, but what motivates that fire in the belly for me to want to run for the 1-year appointment is because I want to make lives better. And that's why I ran for Pima College Board, because I knew I could make a difference. Edgar just talked about the open admissions Pima College. That was at risk of being taken away when I was a president, and I retired to run for the board so we could make sure that the leader at that time left and we could reinstate open admissions. So you've got to have that sense that you really want to make lives better, and that's exactly why I would like the appointment for 1 year and 1 year only. I have no interest in running for the term in 2024. With regards to what I see as the main reasons that I could benefit, and I'll get into that more, is really the time that I served on the Pima College board as a president and dean at Pima College, and I got to know the community. I'm from the community, and I love the community. It's my home. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Johnson.
Okay, yes, and I think I answered the one part of the question about not running. I will not run in for the primary or for the election in November because I'm already a candidate for another office. So why I feel I can move right into this position, it's my experience having worked in the county administration. And it's one thing, and I firmly agree probably with almost everybody here about what we need to do. We need more accessibility to services, especially in the rural areas. We need to make sure that development is responsible and we stick to the Sonoran Conservation Plan. And we, you know, and the Prosperity Initiative, we definitely need to be following those guidelines. But my experience in the administration has also given me a direct hands-on working knowledge of really the nuts and bolts of how it works, and how to make things work is just as important as wanting to make things work. So I think that's what I can contribute in the upcoming year for this office. Thank you.
Thank you. The Board of Supervisors' second question is, how long have you resided in District 3? Most of y'all have answered that. And what community organizations or movements associated with it have you participated? We'll start with Joe Machado.
Well, I've been a lifelong resident here, and during that time, one of the things we learned from my parents is to be involved in everything. We've been involved in all sorts of community affairs, whether they be political, whether there be other types of events. We've participated in clothing drives, food drives, homeless dinners to the homeless, etc. We've participated in Western Little League as coaches, participants, so on. I, at present, am a pilot for the Flying Samaritans. It's a local group of professionals, doctors, nurses, dentists who provide free medical clinics. And I fly these participants once a month religiously to provide these types of services. I'm also a member of the Arizona Supreme Court Character and Fitness Committee, and that is a committee tasked with reviewing applicants who want to be attorneys in the state of Arizona. So from the time I can remember as a young man, little kid, we have been involved in almost every type of political campaign, activity, and different activities providing services to our community.
Thank you. April Ignacio.
I have lived in Pima County, District 3 my entire life. I'm a co-founder of Indivisible Tono. Indivisible Tono is a grassroots organization I mentioned earlier, and we have been organizing civically in our community since 2017. We became activated by the overwhelming fear in our community after Trump was elected. Since then, we've been mobilizing our communities, whether it's civic engagement, sustainability, anti-violence programming, and community building. I think also my experience in the Native community stands alone. This position has been on my radar for years, as I do watch the Board of Supervisors meetings pretty regularly online to try to stay current and up to date on the issues. And I was raised with the concept that love is an action word, that providing service and exemplifying our gratitude and love by doing. So I've been organizing in several capacities for as long as I can remember. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kopak.
So I've lived in District 3 for a decade, a little more now, and I lived in Pima County my entire life. Some of the organizations that I've been involved with that have a nexus with District 3, I'm on the board of Literacy Connects. It's a pro-literacy organization that our headquarters is a converted church that used to be dilapidated in the Amphi neighborhood in District 3. Another community organization I'm involved with is I'm on the board of my credit union, Pyramid, and we have a branch in District 3 in the 05 zip code. And one of the things that we've recently debuted there is looking at a way to leverage technology in a way to directly compete with people who might otherwise think about going to a payday lender or another type of predatory lending service, in a way to offer them what they need at in a way that's builds community as opposed to taking from it, which is in line with the Prosperity Initiative. And then for 7 years, I worked at the Ward 3 office in the city of Tucson, which in that capacity, I directly served District 3 constituents since about almost 90% of that jurisdiction overlaps with District 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Allen.
That's such a great question. So I've lived in the district since 2008. That was just when I moved to the house that I'm currently in. In terms of organizations and movements, there's a lot. Largely because my career has been working with community organizations. But maybe a few that don't necessarily pop out or that folks may not know about. I think maybe starting like most recently, I was a volunteer with the new Youth on Their Own facility, which just opened up around the corner from our house. I'm the proud painter of one of the many cactuses on the wall around the new building. I also recently was helped out with the Club Zeus, which is a nightclub for people with disabilities, and it's where there's a great dance party. I've also been on the board of Las Adelitas, Arizona, where it works to get more Latinos involved, more Latinas elected to office and civically engaged. Been on the board of Green Latinos, which works to get more Latinos involved in environmental work. And then through my work with Border Action Network, one of the successes of organizing is when your people start to take on other issues. So, I was involved in helping folks in a local trailer park demand that that there not be abuses from the management. With golf course workers at a local resort that weren't being given proper safety equipment. And it kind of goes on and on, a whole lot of different campaigns.
Thank you. Edgar Soto.
Okay, can you repeat the question, please?
Certainly. How long have you resided in District 3, which you've already answered, and in what community organizations or movements associated with it have you participated?
So I've lived in District 3, since 2008. I moved, but I've been on the west side my whole life. I moved a mile north in District 3 since 2008. So I've been in Pima County my whole life. I always say I didn't cross any borders. The borders crossed us because generations have lived here in Arizona. So this is my home for generations. Part of the things that I'm passionate about, of course, are the unhoused, mental health, and also pathways to prosperity, which why my work at Pima is so important to me and why I want to stay in that job as a vice president. So one of the things that I've been part of is the unhoused. I had a former ball player of mine who had some issues, dependency issues, and I've gone through this process with him to try to find him housing, try to find him services. And we have a lot of great services out there for COPE, Kodak, Banner Health, but it's challenging, and it's challenging for somebody who also has mental health issues. So So I'm passionate about helping those who are sometimes don't feel seen, heard, and valued. I think it's important to make sure that they have a voice. I'm part of a board for the, it's called the Underground United, and it's actually put together by some of the homeless here in Pima County. So thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia Lee. Sylvia, you're muted.
Okay, apologize. I apologize if you hear my dog too. Anyway, somebody just rang my ring. I have lived in the district for 65 years, except for some time that I was away. But I also am active in many organizations that have served District 3 specifically. First of all, I attended school in District 3, TUSD schools, Catalina, Doolin. I went to PCC and U of A. And as a Northwest Campus president, I served the Marana, Oro Valley area and Flowing Wells. They were all part of my service area, and all of the schools within those districts, including Amphi and Marana. During that time, I was also very active with the Marana and Oro Valley chambers. And then when I was the president at Community Campus, I was in charge of adult basic ed, and we had adult basic ed in the town of Ajo and an Ajo project called Curly Street. And we did dual enrollment courses also. We also helped the Tohono Nation start their new community college on the reservation. And I helped with the student development services and meeting with their very first dean of student development. And Literacy Connects. Oh, I gotta stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Johnson.
Okay, yeah, like I had mentioned earlier, I've been a resident here in Picture Rock for 25 years and moved out here in 98. Organizations, I've been a chairperson in the past for the Democrats for Picture Rocks. We do have a lot of community involvement in the community here in participating in social events like Trunk or Treat, and we've also get involved in some of the development issues here that we make our voices known about development projects, including cell towers. They wanted to put in, for example, a RV park, which we successfully fought off. And also in line of conservation and development, I am a member also of the Tucson Mountain Association, and of course involved with that. Very concerned about the prospect of I-11 going through the middle of Avra Valley is one of our main issues that we're working on. Maybe not inside the District 3. I'm a member of the Sabar Shriners, the Shriners International for the Shriners Hospitals for Children. And also my Masonic Lodge conducts things like the Bikes for Books programs at Oyama Elementary. I believe that would be District 5. So thank you.
Christian Randall.
Thank you. I've lived in District 3 in Aravaca for 15 years. Of that time, for 3 years, I served as a constable, which had a considerable overlay into District 3 and the 05 zip code. I worked really hard to start a notification procedure so that folks would know about their upcoming evictions and we could get them resources. We eventually did hire a social worker into our office so that we could really transition people in that time of need. I also work for the court that serves District 3 right now. We've started a mediation program where we've expanded it so that we can offer alternative dispute resolutions to problems, to help build empathy between parties and communication. We've also started the state's first and currently only pre-adjudicated DUI treatment court. Other movements I've been involved in, People Helping People in Arivaca, the Connection newspaper, Buenos Aires National Wildlife Refuge. I was the president for a while. The nonprofit Arivaca Helping Hearts. I was also the president there. The Community Law Enforcement Partnership Commission, founder of Indivisible Southern Arizona, and I was also on the Bipartisan Housing and Eviction Committee through COVID. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question from the Board of Supervisors is, what to you are the most significant challenges that District 3 faces, and what are your thoughts on how they could be addressed successfully? And let's begin with April Ignacio.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think roads, housing, and the availability of behavioral health services that include addiction and addiction education and services. The majority of rural parts of District 3 are dirt roads. Flood and erosion leave children from being able to get on the bus and make it to school, or roads become washed out and unsafe. These areas, which are unsafe, are also being driven by wide loads, tractors, horse trailers, and cattle trailers. So it would be a priority in seeing reports for road management and some of their assessments. I also think that, the housing shortage is such a unique way to bring driving in community services, and all forms of government should be involved in affordable housing for the constituents in District 3. Personally, I've been on the waiting list for affordable housing for about 18 years. So there are simply few resources for families in rural Pima County. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kopech.
So I think I think at the moment, in this moment in time, I think it's the same for both the district and I think the county as a whole, is the large number, currently elevated number of asylum seekers. The reason I think that is a very pressing issue is, one, the humanitarian response that Pima County has stepped up to the plate for to provide. The second, that, and this is where I really do fear what may happen if street releases, we get to the point where street releases might be on the table, is the current political environment that we're all a part of, with both national and statewide candidates that would seek to exploit the situation and exploit the individuals currently seeking asylum for political gain that might have extreme consequences, both for the asylum seekers and anybody who might try to help them should there be a known point in the community where that might take place. Things along extreme things like violence or incitement close to violence. So I think that's because of the potential for that to just exponentially. Well, I got the stop sign, so I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Jennifer Allen.
I mean, we are facing some tremendous challenges in the district and across Southern Arizona. One of the things is I've been going around and meeting with a lot of organizations and leaders across the district that I hear consistently is people's concern about affordable housing. The cost of housing, the cost of rent has increased tremendously in the last few years, such that people are being pushed out, and people are just absolutely living paycheck to paycheck or even tighter, and living off of credit, and are incredibly vulnerable as a result. And I think related to affordable housing is also thinking about kind of criminal justice reform. I think there are, we need to not rely on or over rely on the use of prisons and jails, and instead be thinking about ways to expand and provide mental health treatment, trauma treatment, substance abuse services to folks. Our communities are struggling, and we need to be able to offer meaningful ways that get at some of the root causes that address some of the reasons that folks are either on the street or end up in our jail system. And the last, climate change and water, from extreme heat, drought, and water insecurity. These are some of the massive issues that I hear consistently about, that we, that just makes our future uncertain. I'll also say that these are issues that I have experience with in my tenure in Oregon.
Thank you. Thank you. Edgar Soto.
I think we all felt the impact when we lost spring training baseball, when we lost our film industry, not just good job with skilled workers, but funding for our schools and our communities. One of the challenges is that we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure to support business and industry when they want to come, and responsible tourism. I mean, it's important that we have these programs, this infrastructure set up so that we can be effective and ready to go when these things do happen. That Southern Arizona Sports Tourism Film Authority bill, we brought back many film projects. We've got spring training coming back in 2025 with a few games. So these are the things that we need to continue to do, and making sure that we go into the rural communities, and Tohono O'odham and Pasco Yaqui. The authority also crosses other boards in Apache. So we need to make sure that we all work together. You know, we have 6 counties involved, and I say we got to blur borders because we all got to work together and pull in the same direction. We're in this together. So we need to make sure we work with other municipalities, we work with other counties, we even work with Maricopa to make sure that we're bringing things here to Southern Arizona, to Pima County, to make sure that people have good jobs with livable wages and they can live lives of meaning and purpose. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Lee.
Yes, thank you. There in my mind are 6 issues that I want to mention that are really critical, especially this next year. The first being, we've all heard about the border issues at Lukeville being closed, what's happening there with the migrants. We've also lost some funding to help house some of the migrants that come across, the asylum seekers. And we want to be able to keep Casalitas open and work with our partners, Catholic Social Services and others, to make sure that we have the funding. And I believe that is number 1 right now. We've got to try and open that border and make sure that we continue to have those services for migrants. That's happening today, right now. Secondly, we've got water issues. That is really critical, along with obviously climate change. But the one that I think is really important, economic development, our strategic plan, working with the Prosperity Initiative. We've got to stay on track with that. Affordable housing, we've talked about homelessness, joblessness, mental health, and our infrastructure, delayed maintenance. Those are all critical issues, takes money. We've got to prioritize. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Johnson.
Okay, yes, so the situation with the border crossing closed at Lukeville is an immediate concern. And I think we also need to address some of the economic issues. We can't change what the federal government does, and we don't have any authority, and even the state doesn't have much, but we do have a responsibility to the citizens, not just the small community of Lukeville, but also Ajo and the Tohono O'odham Nation that are basically affected by this border closing. So we need to see what kind of economic impact that has and what the county can actually do about that. Also, again, conservation is a major concern. The I-11 project, they're planning to put through Ever Valley also has concern not just for the wildlife, but also for Tucson, the city of Tucson's water supply. That's where they have most of their recharge fields, out in the Ever Valley. And so we need to be very much working on making sure that that's not a viable option anymore. And as well as affordable housing, it's tough in the rural districts. Like it's easier in the more, in the city and town of Marana, but we need to work on getting funding for that. So
Thank you. Kristen Randall.
Thank you. I think broadly, one of the main challenges that you can apply to District 3, because District 3 is so diverse, is lack of access. Whether you are someone who wants to start a small business in Ajo, or you're a family facing eviction off of Grant and Alvernon, we have a lot of resources for people, a lot of people you can reach out to, training. And it's just how to increase access to these programs that we have. So there's four different measures. It's access to resources. So we have the EELS program, the Transition Center, One Stop. How do we connect people with these? And in my experience, it's setting up these pop-up resource fairs. It's thinking outside of the box about how to reach people. We used to have the Pima County Housing Center and the Pima County Housing Search for affordable housing. Bringing those back would be great. It's access to justice with the courts and environmental justice. It's access to education and training, and also access to representation. Just having your District 3 office be responsive to the needs of the constituents, to the residents, and to just being there to answer the questions and being present, being out in the community. I think it's all about access. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Machado.
Well, I think the challenges in the district are obvious. The homelessness, the mental health services or lack thereof, the affordable housing, the lack of educational opportunities, lack of daycare, preschool, jobs, overall economic development. But we have to address all of these. My big target would be the educational assistance, because I believe that opens the doors for everything else, economic development, so on. We need to provide educational assistance. We need scholarships, we need loans, we need subsidies. We look at the housing market. We need to do something about providing programs that make housing more affordable, whether that be in the way of loans, subsidies, down payment assistance, interest rate subsidies, so on. But not only on that side of the coin, we need to look at the business side of the side. We need to look at developers, business people. We need to provide them incentives and resources also, so that they can help from their aspect the shortage of the affordable housing. There's just so much more we can do to fund and provide assistance to the people in order to allow them to access these programs. My biggest complaint is the programs we provide, we don't allow people to access.
Thank you. Thank you. The last question is going to be a very short one. We hope a short answer for y'all. And it is, what makes you the best candidate for this position? And we'll start with Matt Kopech.
Well, I think, I think it's the totality that brings, that each of us bring to the table. I think in my capacity as being at the state government, local government, city government, county government, I've had stops along the way that kind of inform me about how best to approach situations collaboratively. It's a lot easier to work together to get things done than be sort of in a more combative mode. I think all of that together that I kind of went through in some of the previous questions, all add together. But I'll just say this, you know, I took the time to read everybody's letter of interest, and I've listened to everybody's comments tonight, and I'll just leave this question with this statement. I have no anxiety or any hesitation about anybody who put their name in to represent me on the Board of Supervisors. So just another opportunity to say thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Jennifer Allen.
Well, I think there's a couple of things. So one is my values. There has been a through line through my entire career of values that are clear and consistent around ensuring, like actively working to ensure that every person can lead a life with dignity and is treated with dignity, and that everybody has an opportunity to be able to thrive, to prosper. Right? That has been sort of a guiding light throughout the path of my career. And then second is the ability to bring people together. People who don't normally work together, who are sometimes at odds with one another, or people who are afraid to stand out and speak up, and to be able to tackle complex problems that are facing our community. So I think it's kind of that combination and my leadership level experience that really kind of prepares me for this role. And it would most excite me to kind of bring it to the role and be able to work with folks across the district.
Thank you. Edgar Soto.
Okay, so I'm going to use a sports analogy here. I think I could be a productive member of this team. You got Rex Scott, part of this team, who has so much knowledge about K-12, about diversified, water rates. And then you have Matt Hines, who has experience in healthcare. He is a doctor. He's been there at the front lines. He adds so much wealth of experience and information. And then I would be District 3, of course, and I'll get back to me in a minute. But then you have Steve Christie, who has a business background, who's provided plenty of jobs for people so they can have a good career. And then who can deny the force of Adelita Grijalva? Her political experience and know-how and experience can't be denied. So here I am. What can I add to it, being at District 3? And here's what I can add. Right now at Pima Community College, we have a child care center. Just today, we added a new modular for 1 and 2-year-olds. Currently, we've been working with 3 to 5-year-olds. Why not have these child care centers in Ajo and some of our rural communities? I also have experience in helping get a bill passed. I know how the in and outs of politics works, how to lobby to make sure that we're working together. I can be part of this team, bringing us all together and keep that positive momentum going to get some things accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Lee. Sylvia, you're muted.
Can you hear me? Okay. I have 5 reasons why I think I would be the best candidate for the 1-year appointment. First of all, this is my community. I've already told you my history here, lifelong history. Worked in community colleges and universities for 30 years, retired with 30 years, and my last 15 were right here at Pima. I worked at all of the campuses, including downtown as a student aide in the 70s. I ran for the Board of Governors because I had a passion for making lives better. And I think I accomplished that in my 6 years, my 1 term. That allows me to understand what it's like to be on a board that is an elected board, know the rules, know the operations of the board, and also the policy making role that we have, as well as the budget and financial pieces. And I'm also very familiar with District 3 because I was a board member all the way to Ajo, where I served Ajo, the Tohono O'odham Nation, the community college, as I mentioned earlier, and my familiarity with Marana and the west side and central part of Tucson. Lastly, my belief is that education absolutely improves lives, but you first have to meet basic needs. It's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that's why we're so important here in
Thank
Pima
you.
County. Thank you.
Brian Johnson.
Okay, I think everybody's got really has a great understanding of what the needs are, and we probably would all agree. And I know we all share the same principles and values as Democrats for what we need. I think the one thing that I can contribute just from my experience is, how do we afford this? How do we pay for it? How do we get money like general obligation bonds for affordable housing? And I think that with my unique experience, having worked in the county administration, is that I kind of know pathways, in which to try to get it, how to get the voters to even approve something like a general obligation bond for affordable housing, and raise money and grants and other ways in order to make these programs that everybody really wants and we all need, make them happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen Randall.
I think it comes down to two things for me. It's hands-on direct experience and a record. So I have experience in law and justice, in poverty initiatives, as a scientist and as a resource manager. I've been a small business owner, and I also know how the county works, having worked for the county for 5 years. And that's really important, because then you know how the county connects to other outside entities in the region, not to mention knowing how the budget system works, how Advantage works, and knowing the department heads and who does what within the county, because the county's large and complex. And then my record, I believe that my public career does demonstrate that I'm determined to solve problems and sometimes think outside the box to come up with solutions that we might not have thought possible. I love to collaborate. I love to mediate, and I think you can see that in the expansion of our mediation program, in the travel court that we started, in the treatment court that we started, and with my record in the constable's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Machado.
What makes me the best candidate? First of all, I'd like to start off by sincerely telling everybody here present that I am sincerely impressed with everybody here, and I know this is an uphill battle. But what do I offer? I am a lifelong resident of Pima County. I know the county. I know its problems. I'm interested and always been involved in the community. I know what it takes based on the experience that I've acquired in various levels of government. I know what it takes to be a supervisor. I know the ins and outs of how to make legislation and budgets and so on. However, whoever's appointed, there's big shoes to fill. And it's unreasonable to think or state that whomever's appointed can do in 1 year what Supervisor Bronson has accomplished in her career. All a person can do and all I can do is pledge to use my experience, to use my background, hit the ground running. I don't need a long learning curve. I know what it takes. I have a history of working with people, and I look forward, if chosen, to work with this board as a member of the team. Thank you.
Thank you. April Ignacio.
So I just want to be transparent and say that I've been very nervous about this forum. So thank you. I'm excited about the opportunity to serve in a larger capacity, and I feel that this is a unique occurrence that would be remiss if we're not attempting to express my interest to serve. The position to serve and fill the vacancy for District 3 is an important position. Within the county, my knowledge of the Thanatam Nation, Native communities, and rural areas within Pima County are invaluable. It is without a doubt that stepping forward, I will be the best person to appoint. My experience with the Native community stands alone. So thank you for your time. As I begin to kick off my 2024 campaign, I look forward to working with you in the future as the next District 3 Pima County Board of Supervisor to champion on behalf of District 3. Thank you.
Thank you. We have wonderful questions coming in from the audience, and here's the first one. What do you want to accomplish during the one-year term appointment? And let's begin this with Jennifer Allen.
I've been wondering when I was going to be asked to answer it first. So, so I think there are so many things that are happening right now at the county, and that it's why I think this appointment is so important. It's been mentioned that the county just passed or approved the Prosperity Initiative, which is a broad, far-reaching initiative that weaves together a lot of the county's kind of program areas and departments and long-term, short-term goals. I think I would want to help move forward and support the implementation of this really bold effort. Second, I as a county resident, probably everybody else here, has received the little questionnaire about what we want to see in a climate action plan from the county. It is just starting to bubble up. I would want to be part of moving that farther forward to ensure that the county has a comprehensive climate strategy that ties, in fact, to its prosperity initiative, because people and climate are sort of inseparable, and we need to think about them as they relate to one another. But I want to make sure that the climate plan is solid and comprehensive, both for county operations as well as it is for the folks that call all of us who live in the county. And then I think I would also want to look at the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan. I know that it's been about 20 years since it has launched. It is an award-winning, nationally recognized plan, and I think it might be time to kind of look at the implementation and what kind of updates.
Thank you. Thank you. Edgar Soto.
We got to keep this momentum going. I think it's important that we create access points and remove barriers. The one thing I can tell you, there's a lot of talent throughout our county, but they have to have access to some of these programs, whether it be education or opportunities. The unhoused is an important issue that we're dealing with. And what we've got to understand, what we're doing now, maybe there's ways to do it better. There's a lot of new initiatives out there that talk about housing first. I mean, how are you going to get off of drugs or get a job if you don't have a house first? So the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's important. I've worked closely with Casa Alitas. They're right across the street from our Desert Vista campus. And these asylum seekers, they're trying to live the American dream like all of us, but we also have current people who live in our community, live in our county, that also need access to education, barriers removed. We want to have a more educated community. So I think it's important that we continue to create access. The Prosperity Initiative is amazing. We've got to keep that going. We've got to see where the puck is going. What are some of these new industries or some of these new responsible tourism things that we could do to make sure that we have the infrastructure, the roads are ready to go, that when these businesses and industry come here, we can provide them what they need so that our community and our county can have good jobs. And also being responsible. We need to have access for people that have some sustainable long-term vision here, not somebody that just wants to come in, make money, and then leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Sylvia Lee.
Yes, thank you. Well, first of all, the number one thing I had mentioned 5 strategic points. the last question, but none of those would work unless we develop, strengthen partnerships, build coalitions. We can't solve the border problem just on our own. There's just no way. We really have to form a stronger partnerships with, obviously, our other counties on the border as well, the governor's office and the feds, because we need the resources. That's number one, because that's right here, right before us. And we know that that's a real crisis. But I think in addition to that, I mentioned water resources. Well, the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan developed by the county in 2001, so much has changed, and we need an updated plan so that we can decide where the resources go, because we don't have unlimited resources. And that's why we need to make sure that we stay the course with our economic development strategic plan. We have one through 2026, and our new prosperity initiative. These plans that are in place, that have already been vetted, we need to stay the course and make sure that the funding is prioritized to meet those needs and those plans. And that's what I hope to do.
Thank you.
Learn from. Thank you.
Brian Johnson.
Okay, well, immediately for the next year, long-term plans, I know would be difficult since I would only want to serve for the 1-year term. But right off the bat, I know I could get involved in the budgetary process, which is going to be center focus for the next 4 or 5 months for the county supervisors. And in doing that, making sure that we maximize our revenue sources, and also make sure that we are using that revenue in accordance, for example, with the prosperity initiative that was just passed by the Board of Supervisors. So basically, I would just get involved right away in the nuts and bolts of running the county government and making sure the resources are used appropriately and effectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Christian Randall.
Hi. So, there's a few points here. I think that the Prosperity Initiative does lay out a really good framework for the work that the county is going to be doing over the next year and few years after that. I think that Administrator Lesher is right in that this is the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan of today. So in crime reduction and prevention, we have a justice services division with the county, and I would really like to see us empower them. They're already super amazing. Let's put a lot of resources there, some more. We want to help support community court. We want to help support maybe more mediations in communities, expand behavioral health resources, look more at the treatment court model. For climate resilience and environmental justice, I think that revisiting the interest groups that helped create the Sonoran Desert Conservation Plan is a really good idea. And I've spoken to some of those people, and they're interested in doing that, and then pulling in new folks to do that as well. And then I would also like to see us manage the resource. The Pima County has set aside a lot of land. I would love to see us start kind of doing a deep dive into how do we maybe increase the quality of habitat. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe Machado.
I think the two issues that I would concentrate on if I were appointed for this 1-year period is affordable housing and early child care and education. Studies show the importance of early education for these children, what it does to them, how it increases their cognitive abilities. They have higher lifetime earnings, opportunities, happiness. And of course, these are all long-term effects that have long-term effects in jobs and housing and stronger economy and so on. And the beauty of all this emphasis is that it just keeps getting better and better each generation. Now, as far as housing, I think absolutely the county needs to play a big role on this. We need to, as I've indicated before, fund programs, loans, subsidies, interest rate subsidies, down payment assistance, sweat equity programs, anything that would motivate people to get into housing, keep these costs down. We have to facilitate and speed up the plan reviews, the approvals. We need to lower the cost of permits. But then on the other side, as I indicated, we need to look at the developers, the businessmen, the builders. We need to provide incentives and programs for them to get involved in the driving down the price of housing. The worst thing we can do is provide these programs without assistance to people and navigating these programs. Thank you.
Thank you. April Ignacio.
So I don't think anyone expected District 3 to become vacant. So I think there are issues that are already in motion. So I would take this year as an opportunity to learn. And I think it's the perfect opportunity to learn and begin reading and get caught up. I would probably lean very heavily on the other supervisors and to get further acquainted with the processes and a lot of the issues or plans that are currently in place. So for me, it would be important to be an informed leader. So that would be building relationships and making sure that I build relationships with the community. There are issues in motion, like I said, so I definitely would want to make sure that I am not taking on too much the first year, other than learning where District 3 is sitting at in this vacancy. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Kopech.
Thank you. Yeah, I think the one thing that the appointee would be guaranteed to be a part of is the budget process. And as someone we all know, there's a famous saying from him, don't tell me what you value, show me your budget and I'll tell you what you value. So I think it's an opportunity for whoever's appointed, no matter what, to be able to advocate for what their priorities are. And that, like I said, is guaranteed and is an incredible opportunity. Some of mine, because of my experience on a school board, and I know a couple of other folks have alluded to it, is the PEEPS program. The district that I'm a member of has done a phenomenal job with those resources, and I want to see that continue, if not become more robust. Another point that I would just make, Administrator Lusher has gone through 2 phases of workforce classification and compensation issues. Every issue that we've talked about tonight, by and large, needs somebody to do it. We need to make sure that we have people power and set them up for success for both all of our priorities that we might be able to move forward in our year or more, along with collaboratively with the other supervisors to see what they want to get done. If we don't have the hands working the work, it's not going to get done.
Thank you. Well, it's really getting to be that time, so we have just a real short period of time for one last quick question. And we're asking the candidates to answer in 30 seconds. So, what is your favorite part of District 3? And we'll start with Edgar Soto.
I think it's such a diverse district. I mean, you've got 130 miles of border. You have rural counties, you have unincorporated. So there's so many different things. And I think me being part of this board will be able to bring a voice from District 3, like Sharon Bronson, who was a trailblazer, did such a great job. So hopefully with the other 4 board members, I can express to them, I think we can really do a good job, work as a team, and keep things moving forward so that people can see all the great things Pima County has to offer.
Thank you. Sylvia Lee. You're muted.
I'm sorry, keep pressing it, but okay, 30 seconds. It's easy for me because I love to eat. I love restaurants. District 3 has great restaurants. Okay, Sonoran tacos and Indian fry bread. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Johnson. Brian?
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. My favorite part is living out here in the desert. I just love the desert. I'm very thankful that I live right by Saguaro National Park, and I'd love to see it preserved, and because that's my favorite part. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen Randall.
The people. I mean, everybody here, the applicants, you're all District 3 and you're all great. But also it's the community in Arivaca, it's the people that I've worked with in Ajo, it's the people in the O5, it's the people. The people make it. That's the heart of District 3.
Thank you. Joe Machado.
I agree, because so the people make the district. But what I love the most of this district is the wide open spaces, national monuments, the hiking it provides, Sabino Canyon, the horseback riding. I think you can't beat this county and this district.
Thank you. April Ignacio.
My favorite part of District 3 is when days are long and hard, the sunsets never disappoint.
Thank you. Matt Kopek.
My favorite part are all of the Amplify schools in District 3. We have some great students, we have some great teachers, and I just want to give them a shout. They do so much for the kids of District 3. I love them. I love them.
Thank you. And Jennifer Allen.
I would say the vision that the people of District 3 have. So thinking about the folks out in Ajo with organizations like the International Sonoran Desert Alliance and speaking up to protect the Lukeville port of entry, the folks across the district protecting asylum seekers and their right to seek asylum, the friends of groups, the Tucson Mountains Association trying to stop the I-11 project, and then the teachers and folks that work in our schools ensuring that our children are safe and are well educated and have opportunity ahead.
Thank you. And I want to send out a big thank you to our applicants for an outstanding forum. The League of Women Voters of Greater Tucson is an all-volunteer organization that is committed to educating and assisting the public in a nonpartisan way to understand issues and candidates or applicants in this case. We want to thank our audience for coming and participating, and thank you for the great questions. We're sorry we couldn't meet them all. Thank you and good night.